Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're all doing well and keeping safe. As expected, today's video is going to be all about Ben Chilwell. The news last night, the breaking news that Chelsea are close to agreeing a deal with Leicester to bring Chilwell to Stamford Bridge this summer. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. And also, if you're excited about Ben Chilwell becoming a Chelsea player, hit that like button because it helps out the channel as well. But let's get into it. From Liam Toomey and David Ornstein in The Athletic last night here. Exclusive, Chelsea close to $50 million deal for Leicester left back Chilwell. Chelsea are close to reaching an agreement with Leicester City to sign their England left back Ben Chilwell. Frank Lampard had identified the 23-year-old as his first choice to fill the position this summer, and it is understood a deal worth between 45 to 50 million is close to being agreed. The club, led by director Marina, had to weigh out whether to commit such a significant outlay on a left back, but there had been no serious consideration over other options for the position. Chilwell last played for Leicester during a home win over Crystal Palace on July the 4th before missing the final 5 games of the season with a heel injury. Lampard decided early in his reign that Chelsea required an upgrade at left back, and The Athletic reported in December that he'd put Chilwell top of his list of targets. The club did not know at the time if they would be able to get their FIFA imposed transfer ban reduced in time to do business in January, but with Leicester flying high in the Premier League, they were prepared to wait until the end of the season to make their approach. They also talk about the impact of COVID on Leicester City, and the fact that they got no Champions League football also impacted and lowered that fee. Some other people who've reported on this that are really reliable: Fabrizio Romano tweeting about this last night. As you can see here, Ben Chilwell deal to be completed on next days. He's always been the main target as left back. Last details then, here we go soon. And John Percy, who's the Midlands reporter for the Telegraph, saying here Chelsea are close to signing Ben Chilwell from Leicester City. A deal could go through next week. Understand the fee is sizable, but has come down as a result of Leicester missing out on Champions League. Big news. Also, I want to give credit to two accounts. Carefree Youth is a big Chelsea account on Twitter, because a lot of news about Chilwell broke last weekend, and then we didn't hear a lot from sort of, I guess you'd call them reliable sources about sort of how close the deal was. But I've got to give credit to both Carefree Youth and fellow Chelsea YouTuber Nini FC for talking about Ben Chilwell, having this news ahead of time and being proven right. So I think both of those guys definitely deserve credit. Go and follow Carefree Youth on Twitter, and also go and check out Nini FC, because they were both spot on with the news early doors about Ben Chilwell. So let's get into my reaction. I think this is absolutely brilliant for Chelsea. I really do. If you've been watching the channel for a number of months, you'll know that left back has always been my priority position for Chelsea this summer. I always felt it was very integral to the way Lampard wants to play, how important fullbacks are to the way Lampard wants to attack. Also defensively, how at times Chelsea have been limited by a lack of acceleration and pace on the left side of our defence. The fact Frank has had to compromise and be pragmatic, having to shift Dave out there at times. He's not going to have to do that anymore. I think secondly to that, first choice target. I think that's the big thing for me. Frank Lampard once again getting his first choice target, the club going all out there. I've been here for months talking about the amount of left backs Chelsea have been linked with, and we're going to get into that more. But since December, Chilwell has been the first choice target Lampard has wanted. We've gone through all the targets on this channel you can think of: Alex Telles, Nicola Tagliafico, Robin Gosens, Alexandro, Sergio Reguilon. But the consistent main name has always been Ben Chilwell. And we've done comparisons between Chilwell and all of those targets. And sure, there are some targets that you look at and go, yeah, maybe a little bit more experience like Tagliafico, have better numbers. But I think Premier League experience is vital for Ben Chilwell. I think that's a big thing for him, adapting to playing for Chelsea, not having to worry that you're bringing in a player from a foreign league, maybe a weaker league, that's going to have to adapt to the pace of the Premier League. But for years, people have moaned about not backing a coach's vision. It's something I heard. I wrote an article for the Chelsea Echo on January transfer deadline day. Of course, Chelsea didn't make any signings in January, and people were moaning because they felt like Lampard had been betrayed. Why didn't Chelsea go out and spend a lot on Edison Cavani or Dres Mertens? And for me at the time, I thought it was a wise move, because what I saw was a potential where Chelsea were going to go all out, spend a lot of money on a player they didn't really want, that Lampard didn't really want. And even though Lampard did express frustration at the time, I felt it could be a wise move, because you eventually get your first choice targets potentially in the summer. Since that January window, Chelsea have got Hakim Ziyech in, they've got Timo Werner in, they're now on the brink of getting Ben Chilwell in. Kai Havertz potentially is on the way as well. And I spoke about Thiago Silva yesterday. All right, Thiago Silva's probably not the first choice target, but you're looking at 4 players there that are going to be big additions to Chelsea. They're all in a good age range for Chelsea as well, prime of their career or going into the prime of their career. Brilliant move from Chelsea, really. And I think that if you're moaning about in January, if you were moaning about Chelsea not backing a manager, you have to be happy now. Even if Ben Chilwell was not your first choice target, which I understand, I'd probably say Alex Gramado was my first choice target. But I think just the simple fact and the statement behind backing Frank Lampard is, I think, absolutely huge for the unity and the vision of the club where it wants to go in the coming years. I think it's massive. And I think it shows a lot that Chelsea, as well, Marina, getting that fee down to about 40 to 50 million. I know that there are varying factors involved in that, COVID, and of course, Leicester not getting Champions League football. But I think that's another brilliant thing as well. Another good fee for a player who could be integral to Chelsea in the coming years. I think Chilwell's form, yes, has been a concern. I think Leicester, of course, have been on a downward spiral in the second half of the season, and no one's going to deny that Ben Chilwell hasn't struggled. He's had off days, but I also think that price is a big thing for me as well. And there's a reason why the likes of Frank Lampard and Ashley Cole and Jody Morrison and Chelsea are so invested in Ben Chilwell and believe he can be a big player for Chelsea. I've referenced an article by Michael Cox in The Athletic about Ben Chilwell that I'll link below, that I definitely suggest you go and read. It speaks about why he's so impressive, why he's such an exciting talent and prospect in that position. So I think that's a big thing as well. And just looking at some stats here, posted last night by Expected Chelsea, a great account that I suggest you go and follow. Progressive runs first among left backs, key passes third, fouls 1/3, final third passes third, shot creating actions fourth, open play shot creating actions fourth, aerial duels 1/5, which I think is a big thing for Chelsea defensively height wise. Also accurate long passes fifth. He's just 23, and you're hoping with a young player that the coaches want, that hopefully he can nail down that position for a number of years for Chelsea. As I mentioned earlier, Premier League experience for me, knowing the league, speaking the language, communication with defenders, knowing some of the players already in the Chelsea squad that he's played with at international level. I mean, I think that Ben Chilwell is probably going to be the left back for England for a number of years. He's probably going to nail down that position. And then you're looking in the Premier League, we've said this before, that I think that, if you're thinking about the top left backs in the Premier League, who's second to Andy Robertson? And I think it's probably Ben Chilwell. I mean, you probably name some other left backs, but I don't really think there's any others that I'd go, yeah, he's definitely on the brink of becoming a brilliant left back. I think Ben Chilwell is. I think that, as I spoke about before on this channel, I think there maybe at times is a bias against English players because of the fee. I think if Ben Chilwell's name was Ben Chilwellion and he played for Getafe and people didn't watch him on a regular basis, I think there'd be a lot more hype around him. I think just because a player may be cheaper, say from the Netherlands, or maybe cheap from a Spanish league as well, that doesn't mean they're going to come into the Premier League and do wonders straight away. I think having a player that the manager trusts, wants, and also a player that knows the Premier League, that isn't going to take loads of time to adapt, and I think has a bright future ahead of him. I think these are all real positive factors, and I think backing a vision for me is the big thing this season. And I think the thing that Chelsea are doing, it's a ridiculous transfer window. It really is. I mean, from here, you sign Ben Chilwell and then you sign Kai Havertz, Thiago Silva. You can deal with that. It was, as well, that's a class player as well. Got a lot of pedigree in his career, but I can just deal with that because think about the 2014-15 window, how good that was, how successful that was for Chelsea. This is probably surpassing that now for Chelsea. There is a flip side to it. It puts a lot of pressure on Chelsea next season, and Frank Lampard, and the expectation that comes with that from fans, because you're getting a lot of targets that are going to make Chelsea a very interesting and intimidating prospect. Chelsea are definitely going to have to deliver next season and improve on what we did this year. But what it shows is how serious Roman is on the club, how serious and invested he is on Lampard. Also, Marina, the negotiating power she has to get fees down. We've seen this a number of times now. It's absolutely brilliant, and someone you want in that chair to get these deals done and get them done right for Chelsea. I think there could be a domino effect now. Of course, there's been talk about, when will this be announced? The deal's not completed yet, but also thinking about the domino effect of Emerson potentially going out the door. You see this a lot of transfers. One gets done and then it affects somewhere else as well. Potentially Leicester getting in a replacement for Ben Chilwell, and that could also halt the deal being announced by both clubs. I think that's something to think about as well. But I just think all round it's brilliant. It really is. It's exciting. It's a move I wanted to happen. I wanted a left back, and I think in terms of age, the profile of the player, I think he could be a massive addition for us in both an attacking and defensive sense, especially attacking wise. I think that's a big thing for me. I know people talk about, and people outside of Chelsea talk about, we've already got Marcus Alonso, but I think if you've been watching Chelsea long enough, I think Marcus Alonso and Emerson, as is proved by Chelsea going out and spending big on a new left back, is we need so much more, especially if Frank Lampard wants to play a 4-3-3. If he wants to play a 4 at the back, I think having a player like Chilwell is massive for him. A modern day fullback is definitely going to help out balance on that side of the pitch. So let's hope, because I think next week could be absolutely massive for Chelsea. We could have some big announcements. So we're going to have to wait and see. The players are now back in training. It's really exciting. The fixtures are out. We're getting close to the start of the season. Massive news. Please let me know your opinions on Ben Chilwell. Do you think he's a brilliant signing for Chelsea? How do you think he's going to impact the team moving forward? Also, the project under Frank Lampard. How excited are you for the 2021 season? Please let me know that as well. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter at @SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.